Okay, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We've got to let this stream breathe for just a second here. Make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream. I'm your host, Gage Madrid. Let's go ahead and let a few people start streaming on in here before we get started. While we do that, if you could just do me a big favor and smash the like button, as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. Additionally, if you guys want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. The link is in the description below. If you want some extra perks and incentives in exchange for helping us out and helping the channel grow, I would really appreciate it. We've got Albuquerque Fitness in the house saying, let's go. So as you guys can tell by the title and the thumbnail, the Denver Broncos have some pretty good news coming into the bye week and heading into their game next week against the Washington Commanders. So let's go ahead and get into it right away, Broncos country. The Broncos are optimistic that Alex Singleton and Pat Surtain can make it back into the lineup week 12 after the bye. This is according to Jeremy Fowler. Singleton, who on November 7th underwent surgery to have a tumor removed, has received encouraging results post-surgery. Multiple sources say he's not a lock for a November 30th return, but it's trending that way as of now. Surtain's been out since week 8 when he messed up his pec against the Cowboys, but week 12 has been the target pretty much since the beginning. So we kind of figured Surtain was going to be back. Singleton, like it says here, it's a little bit more up in the air with him, but if he comes back, great. Even if he has to miss a little bit more time, the Denver Broncos have been faring really, really well with Justin Sternad and Dre Greenlaw. They both stepped in and played some really awesome football in the game against Kansas City. But it's kind of crazy to think Alex Singleton, after undergoing that health situation, I can't really go too in deep on that, the terminology of it, just because YouTube doesn't like those words. But Alex Singleton going through that health scare and only having to miss one game because of it, that's really, really insane, man. Again, it's not a for sure thing with Alex Singleton, but still overall really good news. We got Ivana Spada in the house saying, what's up from New Jersey? We got M Thing in the house saying, my boy Big Gage Money. Good to see you, M Thing. Q Blue saying hello. Daniel Lawrence in the house saying subs Eddie. Good Lord, man. Hope you're doing well, Daniel. But yeah, man, the Denver Broncos getting Pat Surtain into the lineup for this game is definitely going to be huge. They've fared really well without him. Talanoa Hufanga and Brandon Jones, they've played a big part of that at the safety position, but Chris Abrams-Drain, Riley Moss, Jahdae Barron, even Jaquan McMillan at nickel, all of these guys have stepped up, and they have been really locked down in coverage in the absence of Pat Surtain. You look at the Kansas City game, receivers were not getting open in this one, except for a few situations here or there. They were getting open, but overall, man, they just were not getting open on the whole in these games, and that just goes to show how good our secondary is with Pat Surtain not being in there. So, yeah, him coming back is definitely going to make a massive difference in this one. We got D1 Landon in the house. Good to see you, D1. Hope you are doing well. So, yeah, man, really good stuff for the Denver Broncos. And now we've got our bye week to kind of strip back and go back to the basics a little bit in terms of both offense and defense, figure out what we're doing well, figure out what we're not doing so well. That process already started during the mini bye week ahead of the Kansas City game. We saw the Broncos, they improved on a lot of areas where they were struggling early on in the season. Now that they've got their bye week, they've got even more time to get this done and getting some guys back healthy after this bye week. The Broncos have a chance to go on a serious run here. They've got the Commanders, the Raiders, the Packers, the Jaguars. I'd say, as of right now, all four of those are beatable opponents. We got Celestino in the house saying, what's good from Salt Lake City, Utah? Hope you're doing well. We got Roan in the house. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Hey, Broncos Syndicate. Just been watching a few weeks now and been loving your most up-to-date content. You've been providing quicker than anyone I know. Keep it up. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. I pride myself on getting the news out as quick as possible. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. We were better off with were we better off with Singleton out of the starting lineup? I mean, it's really tough to say that, and I don't want to speak bad on Singleton because he's been undergoing some health issues, obviously, and yeah, but I would say the Denver Broncos are playing some good football with Singleton out of the lineup. I thought that both Sternad and Greenlaw both played really well in this game, and I think the Broncos will be just fine if Singleton has to miss another week. Let's just put it that way. Do you think the Broncos will go out to sign another running back or wide receiver during the bye week? I don't know. Brandon Cooks became available today. He was released by the Saints. He's going to have to pass through waivers since we're past the trade deadline. That's an option that I've seen some people talking about here in Broncos country. I don't know if the Denver Broncos are going to go in that direction. I think that running back is a little bit more realistic than wide receiver. Cam Akers, he's on the Vikings practice squad. He might potentially be available. Damian Martinez, the former University of Miami running back, he's available to sign right now. Denver still has Deuce Vaughn on their practice squad. We haven't seen anything from him this season. I imagine Denver might want to get him a couple of looks before they go out and make any more additions to the running back room. RJ Harvey, he had some struggles in the game against Kansas City, especially with vision, his tendency to bounce things to the outside a little bit too much. We saw J.K. Dobbins obviously go down for the season. That's devastating for the Denver Broncos. Then you've got Tyler Bidet, who's kind of had some issues this season in terms of holding on to the ball and just being a reliable option out of the backfield for this team. Hopefully, Tyler Bidet can get better as time goes on. I thought Jaleel McLaughlin was probably the best running back in that Kansas City game. So we'll see if Denver wants to go with what they have in-house or if they want to maybe make an outside move. I would say running back is the more likely position they would make an outside move as opposed to wide receiver. That's a great question. Celestino says, I subscribe to a lot of Broncos podcasts, but I have to admit, you're probably my favorite. I really appreciate that. I don't know how, but you come up with breaking news before all my other podcasts. Do keep it up. I just have all the push notifications on from every single beat reporter on Twitter. As soon as they tweet something out, I get the push notification on my phone. So I try to be on top of every single bit of Broncos news. We got Uncharted Afterlife. What's up, Broncos family? Good to see you, Uncharted. Not gonna lie, I swore Broncos fans have been dogging Singleton all season. Singleton has had his issues this year. Don't get me wrong. He definitely has had his issues this year. But as a run defender, he's been really solid. And as a team captain, the green dot, the defensive play caller, he's highly respected in the locker room. His peers love him. So, yeah, you can definitely find positives and negatives about Alex Singleton. But I think you could definitely do a lot worse than him as a starting linebacker. Long term, Denver might be looking for a more consistent option, but Alex Singleton, you could definitely do a lot worse than him. We need to find more protection for Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix's protection has been really solid this season. Ben Powers going down. The Broncos had some issues on the offensive line. Matt Peart came in that London game against the Jets and really struggled. Ever since then, Alex Palczewski's been starting there, and he's kind of stabilized things on the offensive line. We haven't really been talking about the offensive line for the last several weeks here in Denver. So I would say as of right now, that's the least of their concerns. I really want to see Deuce Vaughn in this offense. You think that kid could be a little firecracker? He might, man. He's got some burst and explosiveness. Hasn't really gotten an opportunity at the NFL level. Got a very brief one with Dallas. Didn't really do a whole lot with it. But ever since then, he's been on practice squads or just riding the bench. I am intrigued to see what he can do. Clearly, the Broncos see him in practice every day, but I'm hoping we can get him in a game or two here this season. I thought Sternad played 100% of the defensive snaps versus Kansas City, but Dre's still only about 60%. How long till Greenlaw is playing 80% plus? I honestly can't answer that. I don't know. I think the Broncos are trying to continue to work Dre Greenlaw in. That way he doesn't get too many snaps early on and risk getting injured again. They want him to get more of his snaps in the back half of the season, starting now, basically. So maybe coming out of the bye, that's when we get an increase in snaps. But we did see Sternad take over as the green dot, the defensive play caller. So that's why he got 100% of the snaps against Kansas City. Do you think Sean's been playing genius game-winning football, or we're just barely skating by? Look, man, our record is what it is. We're 9-2. We've got the best record in football right now, so I wouldn't call that just skating by. Obviously, Denver's winning these tight games in the fourth quarter. The offense has been really inconsistent, but there have been games this year where Denver has put it together for all four quarters, including this most recent game against Kansas City. So that gives you some optimism that later on in the season, we'll see more and more of these complete games. With PS2 coming back, do you think McMillan will get benched? No, not at all. McMillan is your starting nickel. He is your starting slot corner. Pat Surtain and Riley Moss are your two starting boundary corners. Jahdae Barron's probably going to go back to more of a rotational dime backer role once PS2 comes back. But yeah, man, I don't think that McMillan's going to see a reduction in snaps at all. In fact, I think Denver's probably going to look to extend McMillan just based on how well he has played this year. They drafted Jahdae Barron with the thought that he was going to be the starting nickel, but Jaquan just didn't relinquish the job during training camp or the preseason. He was playing so well, Denver simply couldn't take him off the field. I think long-term, they're probably going to let Jaquan maybe test the market in free agency. I want them to extend him, and they might at least consider it. I would do it, but they do have Jahdae Barron, and they drafted him in the first round, so maybe long-term they might let Jaquan walk, even though I would be the first one to extend him. It's tough, man. I made a video about this. The Broncos are going to have to make a really tough call on Jaquan, but I don't think he's going to get benched. Injury update on PS2. Well, there it is right there in front of you. Pat Surtain most likely going to be back for the Washington game. So PS2 coming back. Yeah, it's about time, but Singleton is more a shrug and okay. I get it, man. I get it. And just based on the way that Sternad and Greenlaw played in that Kansas City game, I think both of those guys are going to see an increase in snaps. And Singleton, he might see a decrease in snaps, especially now that we know Justin Sternad, he can do that green dot defensive play calling stuff. So that's definitely something to think about. Nick says, Gage is my favorite too. He's a knowledgeable pro, but can tell he's a passionate fan too. Love you, Gage. Thank you so much, Nick. That's a big compliment because I do try to balance things. I can't completely hide my fandom of this team, even though I try to stay neutral. I don't wear my team gear when I go to the games. I try to present as media, but I love this team. I always will. I will always be a fan of this team, but I do try to be as professional as I can, and I try to be as neutral and as objective as I can be in my analysis. We got D-Rock in the house. Hope you're doing well, my friend. More interested if we get a progress report on Powers. The initial timeline for Powers wasn't until December, so we're not going to see him for the foreseeable future. And again, Alex Palczewski, he's been playing so well. Ben Powers has almost become an afterthought. Certainly, he will get his starting job back when he comes back from this injury, but I'll just put it this way. I don't necessarily think they're going to rush Ben Powers back this season. Maybe they'll just leave him on IR because of how well Palczewski is playing. Uncharted says, I want to see more of RJ Harvey. Well, he is your RB1 right now, and he's going to be your RB1 moving forward. I think Harvey needs to play a little bit better in order to present more opportunities to him. His vision's a little bit of an issue. He's bouncing stuff to the outside. He's not really digging and fighting for as many yards as he can when the rushing lanes aren't there. J.K. Dobbins did a really good job of that. So there are some things that R.J. Harvey is going to have to do before he can become a more consistent player in this offense. This is some very potential good news indeed. It seems like tight end is a big need. Is there anyone out there the Broncos can have access to right now? Not right now, unfortunately. If they wanted to make a move at tight end outside of Mercedes Lewis, they would have had to have done it at the trade deadline. We talked about several scenarios, David Njoku, Mark Andrews, a couple of other players, TJ Hawkinson. Ultimately, nothing materialized. I do believe they're going to add to the tight end room in the offseason, but for this season, there really isn't a whole lot they can do to improve that position. Rob asked, do you think the Broncos kick the tires on Brandon Cooks if he clears waivers? I'm wanting Pat Bryant to get more snaps. Well, if they were to bring in Cooks, that wouldn't have an effect on Bryant's snaps. They're two different receivers. They really play two different positions. But I don't think they're going to go after Brandon Cooks. Sean Payton, even though he drafted Brandon Cooks, he also traded away Brandon Cooks in 2017. So I don't know if there's still a relationship there between Sean and Cooks. I don't know if the relationship's still good. So, yeah, I don't know if Denver's going to go in that direction. I strongly doubt it at this point in time. I think McMillan deserves an extension. The way he's playing right now, he's certainly earned it. But the question is, can Denver afford it? Because they've got some other guys that are going to be free agents like John Franklin Myers, as well as Malcolm Roach. They're big pieces on defense. Do you want to risk letting them go to bring back Jaquan, or do you want to try to bring one of those two players, if not both of them, back? I'd much rather go in that direction and then plug in your first-round pick as the starter at nickel. Uncharted says, I love your live stream. I watch every one you put out. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. My thoughts: suit both Singleton and Commanders up for the Commander. Singleton and PS2 up for the Commanders and the Raiders, but don't play them, especially PS2, unless the secondary is getting hammered. Don't want a re-injury. Well, I can tell you one thing. If they are in uniform, they're going to play, especially Pat Surtain. There's no way that Pat Surtain's going to suit up and then stand on the bench. He is going to be pissed off and not going to stand for that. So I can tell you right now, if they're eligible to play, they're going to play, especially Pat Surtain. Singleton, that's a little bit more of a conversation because of the way that Justin Strnad and Dre Greenlaw have been playing. You could maybe afford to sit Singleton, but as far as Surtain, if he's eligible to play, he's going to play. This team is going to be so much better in these last 6 games, in my opinion. We saw flashes of it in the game against Kansas City. If we can have that level of production in these 6 games, this team can be unstoppable. And honestly, I could see Denver going undefeated the rest of the way. If not, I could see them locking up the number 1 seed by the time we get to the Kansas City game and then sitting their starters for maybe the second half of that Kansas City game and then the Chargers game. Even if Denver were to drop both of those games, they'd already have the number 1 seed locked up. That is a very realistic scenario here. Sutton turns 30. Thoughts on him staying in Denver? Well, they extended him, so he's going to be in Denver regardless. Most streamers don't interact with the viewers, so that sets you off as a great streaming chat. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all this compliment. I really do. Since when did Frank Crum play special teams? That was a Darren Rizzi wrinkle. They wanted a bigger body that could get up and block these kicks, and Frank Crum is the tallest guy on the team. It makes sense. Put the tallest guy on the team on the field goal block unit. He could get a paw up there, and sure enough, they did. Is Jaden Daniels out? I do believe he's going to be out for this one, but Pat Surtain, this has always been the target for him. He's going to be back for this game, and if he's eligible to play, he's going to play. Big T says Strnad over Singleton all day. Listen, man, I'd feel terrible if Singleton lost his job under these circumstances, but the Broncos are going to have to make a tough decision. Which player raises the ceiling of this football team? Is this defense going to reach its potential with Alex Singleton out there, or is it going to reach its potential with Justin Strnad out there? That's the tough question that Vance Joseph and company are going to need to answer over these next few days, leading up to this game. I feel like we need a big running back more than we need another wide receiver. I'd agree. Unfortunately, there are not really a lot of big running backs out there. So it's just kind of tough where we're sitting at this point in the season. Denver maybe could have made a trade for a running back at the deadline. They didn't. Pretty much what's left out there is the leftovers that all these other teams didn't want. So it's just tough, man. It really is. Do you think the Broncos still have a red zone issue? Still not liking that we keep getting so close and just keep getting field goals. I agree. That's an issue. Denver's got to get more consistent in the red zone, and this is where I want to see the tight ends get more involved. Evan Ingram, Adam Troutman, even Mercedes Lewis. Those are all big targets that could be very friendly for the quarterback in red zone situations. So if there's one area where the offense still needs to improve off of last week against Kansas City, that's it. Red zone offense. Good to see you, Adrian. Hope you were doing well, my friend. Dondre Tillman, thoughts on his progress? He's been awesome, especially when you consider that the Denver Broncos signed him from the UFL. He's become a consistent contributor for you, and he's even become a little bit of a ball hawk whenever you drop him in coverage. He's been awesome. Jaquan's an RFA. He'll be back. He's still an RFA? I thought he was going to be a UFA. Well, damn, you are correct. It is going to be an RFA. So, yeah, you could probably bring Jaquan back really easily in that situation. I was wrong there. I didn't realize he was an RFA. I thought he was going to be a UFA. I knew he was an RFA last year, but okay, so that kind of changes things a little bit with Jaquan. It's pretty easy to get him back, but Denver is still probably going to have to consider rewarding him with a decent payday if they bring him back, regardless if they tender him or not as an RFA. Would you give the Jets a third for Breece Hall in the offseason next year? Probably not, at least not until after the draft, because running backs are a dime a dozen in the draft. You can find a starting caliber running back in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, sometimes even the 7th round. So I'd much rather wait until after the draft to make any potential move. Or you could find some player like J.K. Dobbins available on the street for a really cheap deal. Running backs are always going to be available. So if you're going to trade for a running back, it's more of a move that you make in season if you really feel like that's going to be the last piece. Clearly, Denver didn't feel that way. So I don't think they're going to make a trade for a running back in this coming off season. With the 2026 draft on the horizon, who would you pick in the first round? I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't started scouting yet. I don't know who's going to be realistically available for the Denver Broncos. I haven't even really started looking at prospects yet. That all comes in the offseason once things start wrapping down for the Denver Broncos. Once they're officially eliminated, hopefully that doesn't happen until after they win the Super Bowl, but once that does happen, that's when I'll start scouting, and we'll talk a lot more about players in the upcoming draft. I hope they have the slightest doubt with Surtain by week 13. I hope they sit him out. I disagree. If he's ready to play, you play him, and this has been the target timeline. Clearly, they're not concerned about him re-injuring the pec. It's structurally sound. If it's structurally sound and he's ready to go, you put him out there. It's that simple. I love your analysis. Thanks for the hard work. Appreciate it, Eric. I just don't want them to rush people out. I really don't think we need Pat Surtain versus Washington and even the Raiders. If he's not ready to come back, don't rush him back. I get it. I really do. But at the end of the day, they clearly feel like he's ready to go. Otherwise, they wouldn't be reporting this. So I'm confident in Pat Surtain. He's confident in himself, which is the most important thing. Pat Surtain knows his body. He knows what he can and can't do out there. If they feel like they're not pushing it too far by bringing him out at this point, then I'm comfortable with that decision. Shocking to me, actually, but the reality of it is Greenlaw and Sternad are a tough duo at linebacker. Really tough. They are, and the team needs to consider putting that duo out long-term, in my opinion. JH, Audric Estime is on the 53-man roster for the Saints, so he's not available right now. Bo needs to understand he does not have to be a hero right now with this defense. Just play safe, efficient ball, and don't turn it over, and this team will probably win 9 out of 10 games. For sure. And I think that's how Bo's been trying to play pretty much all season long. He's got a low turnover-worthy play percentage, so it's not like Bo's putting the ball in harm's way. The big issue for Bo has been accuracy downfield and footwork and sometimes not taking the shot when it's there. So that's the kind of thing that we need to see Bo get better at. And we saw him get better, quite frankly, in all of those areas in the Kansas City game. Really encouraging. Any updates on Drew Sanders? As of right now, no. It's a week-to-week situation. On Wednesday, when the initial practice report comes out, if Drew Sanders is listed as a limited participant, then we know that they activated his 21-day window. Until that happens, then it's the status quo with Drew Sanders. Hopefully the Oregon tight end, I've heard some really good things about him. I would not be opposed at all to taking a tight end in the first round if it's the right fit for this team. Sternad has a tendency to get injured too. Even if he wins the starting job, probably just a matter of time before Singleton's back. Nice problem to have. It is. When your backup is a starting caliber player, that's a very good thing. That means you have solid depth at that position. The Broncos don't have great depth at every single position, but the majority of positions they do, and I'd say this is one of those positions. Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin, which receiver gets that slot wide receiver 3 spot? I think it's going to be different looks for different situations. They're different caliber of players. Pat Bryant, he's a much bigger, stockier player. He's more somebody that you think about as an X receiver, actually, but he can play in the slot. He's an excellent blocker. So probably more on early downs, you're thinking about Pat Bryant, but Troy Franklin, he'll get looks there. He'll also get looks at the Z receiver position outside as well. So realistically, I think there's plenty of room for both of these guys to get looks on offense. And I think they'll both see looks in the slot, just dependent on the situation for the offense. Do you think it'll be unlikely to bring back J.K. Dobbins? I don't know, man. I think they'll bring him back, but probably not as RB1. They might bring him back as a rotational back, but realistically, I think Denver's going to invest some draft capital into the running back position. Mims, wide receiver 2, definitely. Kind of feels like Mims is in the doghouse on offense right now. They love him as a return man, but he didn't see a whole lot of offensive snaps in the Kansas City game. We'll see if his snap count comes up as he works his way back from the concussion. But yeah, it kind of feels like right now Marvin Mims is in the doghouse. Shai says, I'm so glad we beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Me too, man. Me too. It was so nice being at that stadium, not having to hear that annoying tomahawk chop chant. That definitely was nice. Sunday Night Football always do in that game. I'm not sure what we're saying there, unfortunately, Bert. Colin Cowherd put out a video with some good points about Bo Nix playing with a winning future Hall of Fame coach, Sean Payton, and how much he trusts Bo. Worth the view if you haven't checked it out yet. I'm going to be honest, I can't stand Colin Cowherd. I don't want to give any of his platforms engagement. I don't like really any of those national media hot take artists, be it Colin Cowherd or Nick Wright or back in the day, Skip and Shannon. Those guys just aren't my cup of tea. They don't bring actual football analysis. So yeah, I'm not going to give Colin Cowherd or any of those guys any of my engagement. Pat Surtain will be back. Yep, indeed. And that's going to be huge for us. Mims dropped a lot of passes, and he's had some issues with route running and getting open, stuff like that. So it kind of feels like Mims is in the doghouse right now. Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs could still make the playoffs? They definitely could, but I don't know if they will. They can only afford to maybe drop one more game this season. I don't know if 9-8 is going to get them into the playoffs, so it's going to be a really tough challenge for them. Colts have the hardest part of their season coming up. Yes, it's true. They've got Baltimore, or no, they don't have Baltimore. That's New England. They've got Seattle. They've got San Francisco. They've obviously got Kansas City next week. So those are 3 potentially losable games there for the Colts. I'm looking at the rest of our schedule, and I honestly believe we win out, especially if we keep playing an all-around game. For sure, I could definitely see us winning out as well. Do you think the Broncos will move Mercedes to the 53-man roster? Is he out of his allotted call-ups from the practice squad? Yes, he is. They've used his third call-up, so if they want him to play, he's going to have to be elevated. Another thing that they're going to have to consider is the Nate Adkins injury. It kind of looks like Adkins is also going to be back for this Washington game, so maybe they're not going to need Lewis anymore. It's kind of an interesting conversation. If they still want him to play, he's going to have to be elevated. But otherwise, I don't know. Nate Adkins kind of dictates that, in my opinion. All righty, Holy Diver. See you later, man. Hope to see you in the next one. Mims might still be injured, so they may be limiting him. If he's cleared the concussion protocol, that means he's not injured. He has to be 100% cleared in order to play, and he's played, so I don't think that's it, personally. Would love for it to flip-flop in Kansas City be playing our JV team at the end of the year. I think it's possible, man. I really do. I don't know if they're going to be playing the backups for the entirety of the game, but if Denver does have the number 1 seed locked up in that game, they might rest their starters for the second half and then rest their starters for the entirety of the Chargers game. I don't know if Denver would want to rest their starters for 2 full games, then have the first round bye, because you'd be pretty rusty by that point. Sean Payton always does good on Sunday Night Football games. Problem fans have not really noticed the Chiefs, and their fans a little afraid of the Broncos. My read is that Pat would be ready this Sunday if we had a game, so definitely 100% for after the bye. That's kind of my consensus opinion as well. No worries, all respect and love, man. I'll continue to watch your streams. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Washington Commanders, Sunday night, Sean Payton. Things are boding well for the Broncos in that one, I would say. All righty, guys. We are at the 30-minute mark, so we're going to go ahead and wind this stream down. Derek says, who are you more worried about, Colts or Patriots in the playoffs? Got to be honest, it's the Pats, because Drake May, he's that dude, man. He has been playing some high-level football. If you're asking me if I'm more worried about Daniel Jones or Drake May, it's going to be Drake May. Even though the Colts have a really good team, that Patriots team is looking scary. It'll be unlikely to have the number 1 locked up with 2 games to go. It is possible, though. We went through a couple scenarios where that could happen in a video that we did earlier this week, so I would encourage you to check that out. Does Sternad start with Singleton back in the lineup? He's been great. Honestly, that's a tough decision the Broncos are going to have to make. I don't know the answer right now. If it were up to me, Sternad would start, but Denver's going to have to make that decision before this game. I don't care what anybody says. You should not root for a division rival. I see the Colts losing a few more games down the line, so go Colts this week. I get it. I totally do. I'm not necessarily rooting for KC to win. I'm rooting for Indy to lose, or more realistically, a tie. I want the Denver Broncos to get the number 1 seed. I don't think we should be worried about the Kansas City Chiefs coming into the playoffs and potentially beating us. We've already proven that we're a better team than Kansas City is. What Denver should worry about right now is getting the number 1 seed. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to leave a like on the stream, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country, just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting this channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. I would really appreciate it. Those are both free, or I cannot talk today, Jesus Christ. It's not mandatory whatsoever, but if you guys want some extra perks and incentives in exchange for helping me out and helping this channel grow, really appreciate it. The link is in the description below. Before we get out of here, guys, I do want to tell you about the affiliate partner for today's video, Green Gridiron Helmets. Use code DENSYN, DENSYN, link in the description below to save off your first purchase. From Green Gridiron, authentic NFL helmets, just like this one. Small replicas, full-size, authentic helmets. They've got it all. And that was an absolutely disastrous end to this stream, so I'm going to go ahead and call it here, guys. I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.